So, welcome to the next episode of the Singing Social, and I'm so pleased to be joined today by Emily Barden. So, what can I say about you, Emily? I was having a good look through all of your biographies just to make sure that I know everything that you do, and my goodness, you do a lot, don't you? So, do you want to tell us what it is exactly that you do?
I can have a go, but like you said, it's quite varied. I suppose fundamentally, I am a singer and a songwriter and a choral leader. That's probably it in a nutshell. But then amongst all of that, obviously, is all the different type of work that I do. So with community choirs, with music hubs, with large scale children's events, with my own composition for me. So when I sing and gig and play piano, and then my composition that is for organisations like Sing Up, and then the sort of the stuff that I do with Friday afternoons in Snape Maltings as
Ah,
well.
fantastic. I mean, that's such a wide variety of stuff, isn't it? And also working with such a wide variety of people. So tell us a little bit about Friday afternoons.
Friday afternoons, for anybody that has not come across this project, for any singers or singing teachers, it's an amazing resource. Fundamentally, it's free, so there you go. It's all downloadable, and it's got fantastic sheet music arrangements, and it's 70 plus songs at the moment. It's a commissioning organisation based in Britten Piers Arts, which is in Snape Maltings. And the name Friday Afternoons comes from the Benjamin Britten set of songs that I'm sure loads of people out there have sung. Abram Brown, particular favourite, excellent round. But those 12 songs, they formed the basis for Snape Malting's commissioning new composers to write in a similar style as in contemporary classical for young voices. So it's very specifically written with a young treble voice in mind, but the complexity lies in the piano parts,
Tell
obviously.
me about it. I know, because I try and play them on many occasions and fail.
I know, me
But they
too.
are fantastic songs, though. I mean, I use them with my choirs because they just, as you say, they're very specific in that they are for a sort of a classical approach to singing, aren't they? But still, they're really, really fun to sing. You know, everybody that I use them with absolutely loves them. And also, everybody says, "Where did you find that?" It's really random, but yeah, they work a treat.
Oh, I'm pleased you think that. Yeah, I think it is quite random, and that sort of is reflected in how they get commissioned because there is no brief other than look at the first set by Benjamin Britten, look at the sort of the style and the way in which it's being written. But other than that, thematically, it's over to the composers to do whatever it is that sort of floats their boat. So we do end up with some really different, sometimes quite obscure songs. And then the most recent set, which I'm really excited about because I've been doing a lot of work on them, the lyrics have been written by Michael Rosen, so the texts are fantastic, and the kids immediately know who Michael Rosen is, and they tell you all about the books that they've read with Michael Rosen, which is fantastic. And the music's by Russell Hepplewhite, who's a great composer of children's opera and children's musical theatre. So actually, they're quite catchy. This set, there's some really hooky melodies. So yeah, that's a project that I work with, and I'm one of their ambassadors, a Friday Afternoons ambassador, which means I get to work with some fantastic other ambassadors, choral people around the country, trying to sort of just spread the word about Friday Afternoons and help other people, to engage with it as a project. It's a really lovely, lovely job to do, and it's taken me slightly out of my comfort zone because that is not my background. I'm not a classical person
All
from
right.
where
Okay.
I
Oh, that's
started.
interesting. So tell us, how did you get into music and singing? What was your story?
So I'm your sort of classic girl in a guitar writing songs, sort of when I was about 10, 11, 12 years old. It was just the only thing that I sort of wanted to do, and I used to write like all the time on the piano, on the guitar. I formed a little girl group when I was in middle school called Active. I feel we were ahead of our time. We were an environmental group. I think we're very en vogue.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely ahead of your time. Fantastic.
So I sort of did that, and then that was just the only thing I ever used to do. So when it was a school project or anything, my contribution would be I would write a song about it. So I've written some bizarre songs about Kielder Dam and the rainforest and varying other, strange things.
Niche.
It's very niche, but what it was is it was just my only thing that I totally, totally loved. And so just always, it was just music, 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 but predominantly the writing of it. The singing of it happened because I had to you've written something and you've got to get it out there. So I had to sing it, but I
Just
was
a
never a sort.
necessity, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I was never like I want to be a a professional singer or anything. It was always I want to be a writer, a composer, a songwriter. This is what I wanted to do. Um, and then as I got through school in my A levels, as with most people, there's a pivotal teacher, isn't there? When you sort of speak to people's journeys, there's always somebody who's, there's a special person. And my music teacher in secondary school was called Len Young, and he was a fantastic guy. Works for Sing for Pleasure actually up in Newcastle. So if any choral leaders in the Newcastle area are watching, they probably know Len Young. He's a fabulous guy. But he told me in no uncertain terms that I would fail my music A level if I played the piano.
Right.
He said, but if you sing, I think you're going to be all right. So he directed me to having singing lessons. So when I was 17 before I had a singing lesson,
Gosh,
which
I
is,
mean, yeah, that's quite old. In a
I
ridiculous,
know,
ridiculous thing to say, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, it is old. And so I had singing lessons, again, purely necessity to get me the grades that I needed, and very quickly did the whole, grade 8 thing before leaving school. Don't know how that happened, but I did. And then did the whole A level thing, singing. Discovered I actually really liked singing and learning different styles of singing. And then went to university in Liverpool. Paul McCartney had a fame school called LIPA.
Yes, I know it well. Yeah.
So I went there, again as a songwriter, but you had to have a first study instrument. And I'm an all right piano player and I'm an all right guitar player, but not first study. So again, necessity went, well, I better do singing. So it's a funny thing. I've sort of been bashed into this sort of singing world always because writing and composing has been the major thing that I've been, pushing. And then over the years, the singing thing has been the thing that's continued, and that make sharing that, getting people into singing and bringing people together through singing has been how it's sort of morphed across the years. So it's turned out that the thing that I kept having to do in order to do something else, it's like, oh, I better sing, that's become really like the heart of
Yeah.
everything else that I do. It's funny.
That's really, really interesting. When you were at school and growing up, did you have any experience in choirs at all?
Yeah, again, Len Young. So we had a fantastic secondary school choir, and when you're in your school, you don't know that your school choir is special because
No.
you only know your school choir,
Yeah,
and you just think, well, this is what
absolutely.
happens. This is high school. This
Yeah.
is what it's like. And since coming out the other end of it and now visiting other schools and doing things, I now know that it was a very special school choir, and that it was not usual. And we put on great big productions, and did Carmina Burana in the local sports centre
As
where
you
I
do.
got, I've got a really clear memory of, sort of looking, there's like a badminton court to the right and then the timpani to the left. It was like, yeah, this is interesting. And I got to sing a solo in that, in Trutina, I think it's called, number 21 or something.
Yes.
And again, that was another moment where I was like, oh, singing with an orchestra, getting to do that as a sort of teenager was really special. Being part of something so massive, I think that was really very special, combining the voices and the orchestra and having somebody so aspirational. So there was nothing that, there's no way Len ever went, oh, this is just high school, we better only. He was like, this is what we're going to do, and made massive things happen. And I think that's been really important to me because now I approach things with a, well, let's
Oh,
go for it. There's
yeah.
no reason why
Yeah.
we shouldn't do this massive thing. So I think he's been really important.
Yeah. I mean, why should you have limitations? You just don't know what people can do until you try with them. And I suppose you're probably coming from a position where you can really relate to the people that you're dealing with in workshops and things like that who are not, you know, singers. They can, everybody can sing, but to a certain, um I suppose some people have not really used their voices very much and don't know what they can do. So I suppose you can connect with that, knowing that you were never the person that thought they could really, really sing, and it just happened to grow out of something.
Yeah, absolutely. And also realizing how pleasing it is to be able to sort of unlock a bit more of your voice. And then the magic that happens when you put that voice with other voices,
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
just such a I mean, I love that. So, yes, I like singing solo, my own stuff and things. But what I really like is being in the middle of a load of delicious
Absolutely.
harmonies. Just the
Yeah,
best
there
thing
is
ever.
nothing like singing with other people. There is absolutely nothing like it. You can sing by yourself till the cows come home, but there's nothing like, even if you're just singing in unison, it
Yeah.
just gives you this feeling that you just don't experience when you're singing by yourself. I know that I always try and seek out opportunities where I can sing with other people because it's such, because I miss that sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's just a gift, isn't it? And even from professionals down to people who have had barely any experience, they reap the same benefits from singing with other people. So tell me about Sing Up.
Yeah. Sing Up. Well, you Sing Up obviously is a singing organisation, and I think they've got a fantastic resource. They're 10 years old now. Sing Up have been on the go, which is just absolutely brilliant, and obviously started as a sort of government initiative because they recognised that singing was not like the one I've just described in my school. That actually there was a real problem in having people singing, and so they ploughed a load of money into getting singing into specifically primary schools. Is where they started, and Sing Up was created, and it's just, again, it's grown, and it was never meant to last 10 years. It was a sort of a standalone project. I think it had a 4-year life, but it became such a great thing that it's grown and grown, and now carries on and will carry on as far as I can see, because it's being used so much. But the thing that I am involved with most for Sing Up is as a songwriter, because they have obviously a great big bank of songs, and then every year they have Sing Up Day, which is a global thing where they invite anybody in a school choir or any sort of choir to learn one song and to sing it all together across the world. You can film yourself, and they make a digi choir of all the different videos. And I've written, I think, 6 Sing Up Day songs now. I've written the one that was just done in June this year, and it's a lovely thing to do, to be given a brief. You've got to make a song that is essentially global, that has got something from the brief says it's got to be singable by a 5-year-old and by an 18-year-old. And it's got to be not just singable but enjoyable and relevant, and it's got to
Yeah,
have the associating parts you can add on, but at the same time it's got to work in unison. So the brief I love because it's massive, and you really have to think about what it's like to sing this song from varying different levels of your sort of vocal journey. So
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
really great brief for a singer to get. And I think it's probably important that I am a singer as
Mm.
well as a composer when writing those sort of songs, because you know what your voice is doing, and you know
Yeah,
at different
exactly.
stages of the development what it is that the children are going to need in order to make the most of their voice. So it's a great, every time I get one of those briefs, I'm like, right.
That's fantastic. And it's great for primary school teachers to also understand that, isn't it? So you can make those choices for them, and then they're giving them songs to sing that A, they can physically sing, and B, that they know they're going to enjoy and fulfill lots of different things, which is fantastic. Really good. Have you been doing any choir rehearsals on Zoom?
Oh yes, and I continue to do so.
Really?
I sort of thought that maybe that might have finished by now,
Yeah.
but
So how has
you know,
that been for you?
well, probably exactly the same as it's been for you. It's a funny old thing. Before the whole pandemic thing, I thought that community choir, of which I run several, I thought that the stress was on the word choir. And it turns out the stress is not on the word choir, it's on the word community. So I'd sort of got that wrong in my own head as to how other people perceived the choirs they were part of. For them, actually the opportunity to meet together on Zoom, to see each other, and to have a sort of reason to meet.
Yeah.
I didn't think anybody would go for it. I thought, why would anybody who loves choir want to sing on their own at a screen, watching me pointing and dancing around with, singing all of the parts? Why would people want to do that? And it turns out they absolutely did, because they could, there they were, connected again to the people
Yes.
that they
Yeah.
normally stand next to every week. There they are on the, in their little boxes together. And it's been really successful, I think. I mean, I've been running Well, I've been running them since the big March, the
Yes,
previous
yeah, it's a
one.
long time, yeah.
Really
And
long
I think
time.
yeah, we forget as conductors, we're thinking, what can we possibly achieve? What can we possibly achieve by doing this? And actually, that should be at the bottom of the list, shouldn't it, as to the reasons to do it on Zoom. I mean, I found that other people have pushed me into it, going, yeah, come on, let's do it. Yeah, and I've been thinking, really? Oh, okay, all right. And thinking, are they enjoying this? Is this what they want? And absolutely it has been. And it's been a total lifesaver for certain people. And as you say, just connecting and having those chats and knowing that you're doing the same thing as somebody else, even though you can't hear them, you're still having this kind of shared experience, which I think we need to remember is the most important thing. But as you say, community is the word and not choir.
It was really interesting, and actually, I mean, for some people, they have not engaged. If I sort of look at I reckon 50% of the people that I work with have gone with us in the Zoom journey, and about 50% have just said, you know what, it's not for me. When we get back in real life, I'll see you there. And that's absolutely fine. But those people who have engaged with the Zoom, in order to give some sort of sense of performance, I've been doing what a lot of people have been doing, which is making virtual choirs, and having to learn how to be a video editor. I mean, who knew that that was a thing I was
I,
going to end up doing?
I have just sourced that out. I just can't even go there.
I've discovered I really enjoy it. There's
Oh,
something very,
really? Oh,
yeah,
goodness.
very pleasing about it. So I created, I think across that set of choirs, I think we've ended up doing 5 virtual choirs. And what's really interesting is actually people are getting better. So even though I'm not in a room with them and you're not giving the direct feedback based on what you can hear, the same people have been taking part in the virtual choirs, and so I hear individual recordings which I would never get to do in a
Never. I
normal,
know. It's
you know
quite revealing, isn't
it's
it?
quite
Yeah.
revealing, and wow, aren't people brilliant is what I think. And I get
Yeah.
these, and they've conquered all sorts of fears around technology and around performance, around facing their own voice. People haven't had to do it before because you've been, cheek by jowl to somebody
Yeah.
else in a community hall wedged together, and suddenly there they are, their own voice, and they're hearing it unaccompanied because they're listening to the track in their ears. So all they're getting is their own voice, and that
And that's
is
huge. Yeah. And
massive. It's massive.
it really, really is. Even as a professional singer, listening to yourself back, you think, oh God, oh God. So for anybody else, it's an absolute huge achievement, isn't it? To do all of those things, as you said. But it
Yeah,
was a necessity, wasn't it? It was something that we just had to keep going with because it wasn't just a short period of time. It's been a heck of a long time, hasn't
yeah,
it? So do
absolutely.
you plan to reconvene in September or face to face?
Yeah, I mean, I've started. So I'm doing a project at the moment, which is really lovely. It's based around the music of Rodgers and Hammerstein, and it's
Oh,
working. I know.
sign me up.
It's working with Chichester Festival Theatre, who are doing a production of South Pacific at the moment. So I've put together a choir of about between 40 and 50 people singing a medley. There's 13 Rodgers and Hammerstein songs sort of glued together, and it's a really lovely medley. And actually, it's taught me lots because I didn't, that's not what I grew up with. Sound of music, yes, but the rest of them, not really. So again, I've discovered all this fantastic music, which, funnily enough, my participants knew better than I did in terms
Ah,
of.
right. That's
So that's
interesting.
been
Yeah.
really lovely, sort of, learning from them. But that has been a Zoom rehearsal, and then we went back into smaller, in real life rehearsals just very recently. Across the last month, we've been doing that in little groups. So I've made mini choirs out of the big choir so people could get the sense of singing in harmony again. And that's been like, well, in fact, the first thing that happened is a lady on the front row burst into tears
Oh,
just
yeah.
when the
Yeah.
first chord arrived and she heard voices together, you know singing the right chord, which is what made me so happy. But this lady, yeah, that she just that
No,
couldn't.
well, it is. It's incredibly emotional, isn't it? It really, really is. And to have that again is just fantastic. And also, they have to be brave in order to sing in little groups of 6, which previously, and some in my community choirs would have said, I don't think so. I can't sing in a group of 6. They need to be in a big group. But again, that's another thing that they've had to overcome and be brave about. And yeah, fantastic.
Yeah,
Lovely.
it's been really lovely. But yes, hopefully something will happen in September. I think what also this has sort of taught me this last few months is that, you know, you just got to be flexible, and you've just got to not worry too much about if things don't happen as you planned them, and that, you know, the world won't end if your regular choir rehearsals get, you know, that
Yes.
actually you do to a certain extent have to let go and just go with whatever is happening, and just try and keep those people together in
Yeah.
some sort of way. But like I said, with this community thing being the main focus, knowing that when we are allowed to get back into the pile you all in a hall situation, those people they're going to be extra committed after all of the stuff that's gone on. But I'm not sort of stressing about oh, we must get back to normal on the 1st of September, because I just don't think it's a reality at the moment. So I'm
Yeah.
being quite
Who knows?
zen about it.
Yeah. Yeah. We might look back on this in a couple of years' time and go, what were we thinking going back in September? You just don't know. You just don't know what
No,
future
no.
holds. But thank you so much for chatting to us. It's fantastic to hear what you've been up to and your story and all of those things. So thank you so much, and good luck with all of your projects and all of your choirs and whatnot.
Thank
So
you.
take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.